urban ministry in the end time. Through the last few weeks, we looked at how Jesus was reaching people. And now we should ask ourselves, what's next? How can we use what we have learned?
And it's interesting that the author of this quarterly had found it important to dedicate a whole week of research and paying close attention to the challenges and the goals that come up with the urban ministry. I wonder why.
The lesson says that for the last decade, the majority of the world population is living in metropolitan areas. If we want to reach people, we shouldn't be running away from them.
And cities have their advantages and disadvantages in relation to the gospel. In this lesson, pays close attention to the advantages, like the mosaic of many languages, many cultures, many ethnic groups, all of them presenting great opportunities for outreach. The example of Apostle Paul in the book of Acts chapter 18 demonstrates how he was able to take full advantage of the common ground that he shared with the people who surrounded him for the purpose of connecting and ministering to them.
I think that we need an entire quarter dedicated to urban ministry. We need so much to learn. We need a complete re-education in this. But the lesson makes few important points, the first of which is that cities are full of opportunities for ministry. It's amazing to read Paul's story that you mentioned and see how the Greeks kind of defended Paul and beat up the ruler of the synagogue who wanted judgment against him. But even more than that, on how people needed Jesus in their lives and how lives were changed. Sometimes faith can be based on national or cultural consciousness. For some, religion is what identifies them, and converting can be as treason. It's a big deal. Not that cities don't have this problem, but people are more used to diversity and more open to explore, to listen, to try to understand, especially when they need help or are hurting.
No wonder Jesus spent much of his time in cities. He was confronted by the incomparable scale of hurt, suffering, and illnesses in the city boundaries. Jesus was a healer. Jesus was a comforter, and he felt just right in being in this environment.
The lesson calls the cities the hurting place, and points out that it's not enough to just show up from time to time to do something nice, but rather to be really there, engaged, involved, committed to help the community. In order for people to trust you, they have to feel that you care.
Multifaceted uniqueness separates the urban from the rural areas. Cities' communities are much less predictable. They're much more dynamic and less stereotyped. That's why outreach there requires individually approached preparation. And the different nature of soil that Matthew chapter 13 describes it, where the seed can fall either on in the good soil or on the rock, requires different approach, different measures to be taken in preparation so that we can have even the chance of reaping fruits after that.
The dynamics are different in the cities. Life is much busier and faster. Time is a very scarce commodity. Relationships are different, the needs, the expectations. We need to understand that and work the soil. Remove rocks, pull thorns. It may hurt, but then the sowing will be more fruitful.
Small groups, are they the answer for the big city? Definitely yes, but why? Because we follow a teaching that preaches relationships, and we cannot achieve such a goal by disappearing in the big auditorium of human crowd in a church. Intimate, friendly interaction is a characteristic of the small group environment, where we have at least the capacity to relate and to reflect and support those around who have their needs and goals. And this is the case where the small represents the big, and the big is not necessarily great.
It has to be personal. It's about a life experience and not just a dogma to accept.
And finally, we can say that it's not easy to reach out the people who live in the city. The temptations and the corruption there exceeds even our imagination in some instances. But who said it's going to be easy? We're in the business of helping people to encounter repentance and save their own souls. It is left up to us personally to decide and find a way how to contribute to what Jesus is trying to accomplish in the big city. So, where does your thoughts and your imagination lead you in this regard?
As Adventists, we like to talk about the end times. And sometimes we seem to shift the focus. If we see fire and people in danger to burn, are we going to run away or run to help? Aren't the end times time for ministry?